Hello, Dippers, and welcome to Volume 25 of Hysteria. As always, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. Listen to us on iTunes and Spotify. Listen to us on the side every Monday. Look at Sandwich on Thursdays. Fantasy 15, the DFS podcast every Friday, and Food for Thought on most Saturdays. And with me, as always, our St. Louis correspondent, the voice of Food for Thought, Fletcher Hoig.
You know, the Cavaliers, they lose one man on LeBron James, and the next thing you know, they go from going to the finals to people wondering if Duke can beat them. And that just shows you the dominance of one player.
Could Duke beat them?
No.
Well, we'll talk more on later, I guess. But for right now...
Well, here's the thing. Duke has like maybe 3 or 4 NBA players. The Cavaliers have 15, so...
That's true. But we'll talk more about that later. For right now...
Drop the noise.
Humpday. Who's Hysteria?
A Sauce on the Side production.
Dippers, this week's show is just absolutely fucking loaded. So many shit happened the past week. Got Jimmy Butler trade, the Warriors hate Draymond Green, Carmelo's time in Houston is almost over, Kyrie's still talking, LeBron's pulling some strings of his own in LA, Fletcher on the fly, and even some college talk. So we'll start with the biggest news of the week. Jimmy Butler has finally been traded. He is now a 76er. The trade that finally got agreed upon was Jimmy Butler to the 76ers, and Timberwolves got Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and a 2020 second-round pick. They declined several other offers for Jimmy Butler, including 4 first-round picks from the Rockets, a first-round pick at Eric Gordon from the Rockets, and I think a first-round pick and Nikola Pekovic from the Pelicans. At first, when I saw this trade, I thought, okay, they got absolutely, kind of raped, like, not fair at all. But I think that's just because I was comparing it to the trades they could have gotten other than that one. But looking at it now, they traded Jimmy Butler, who didn't want to be there, and they didn't want to pay. And they got Dario Saric, who is a really good young player, and Robert Covington, who signed through 2021 at $13 million a season, so a very modest contract, and a pretty good role player for this team. Fletcher, let's talk about the Timberwolves. What do you think means for them going forward?
Well, they did get Dario Saric, who's going to be a nice 4 player to put next to Towns. You're kind of looking at the future of NBA, the future of NBA front courts. You got Dario Saric, a stretch 4, point 4, handle the ball, pass it. And then Towns, he's so skilled as a center in this league. And the thing is, for the future of the NBA, he's going to be a true center for what this current NBA is going to be. And they get a second-round pick. Nothing really to take home and brag about or write home and brag about. But they got Covington, who's definitely going to fit the mold of what Tibbs wants to do and his wing players. He's going to get a guy who can shoot it really well, defends it really well. He's going to play a lot. They're pretty much just going to run the tires off Covington and Saric this year, and we'll see how things go. They definitely did not get the best trade available. The best trade available is getting the 4 first-round draft picks. Houston could be blown up after next year. I mean, not that they just deal Chris Paul and Harden and give up, but like early on right now, like their hopes of winning a title are slim to none. They don't have a snowball's chance in hell. They could have had 4 first-round picks. You saw how bad Boston fleeced Brooklyn with 3 first-round picks. Well, they could have had an extra one. That's the deal I would have done. Maybe I think this deal might be better than the one from Miami where they tried to get Bam Adebayo, and Josh Richardson. But not the worst move ever. Definitely not the best one on the table they could have had, though.
Yeah, before we went to the 76ers, I was thinking about why they took this trade instead of the 4 first-round picks. And all I come up with was Tom Thibodeau doesn't want to just totally give up on the season in a way. He wants to still kind of be competitive and then kind of compete immediately next year. What do you, if you get that same kind of vibe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think Tom Thibodeau is not smart enough to understand like being mediocre in professional sports is pretty much the worst route you could take. And so I think since he's so dumb that he thought, well, if we're tanking and we're getting draft picks, that means I'm doing a bad job as a president and as a coach. So I'm going to try to keep us as good as long as possible so I can say, oh, well, we made the playoffs that year and we almost made the playoffs the following year. I don't think he really quite grasped how sports work in the 21st century.
So now going to the other side, the team that got Jimmy Butler, 76ers. This marks the end of the process. They're clearly looking to win now.
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen with the team now, Jimmy Butler, and do you think they can re-sign him after the season ends?
I definitely think they can resign him. I heard as soon as the trade was finalized that they were talks in the making. The NBA, if you're looking to get a Jimmy Butler jersey for Philadelphia right now, it's only costing about $70, but the second he resigns with the 76ers, it's going to be a $150 jersey, I'm sure. It's good that the 76ers got him. It sucks that they had to give up Saric. I'm a big Dario Saric fan. They're now, I think, I saw their projected starting lineup a day or two ago, and it's going to have Wilson Chandler at the 4, with Jimmy Butler at the 3, J.J. Redick at the 2. So they're really looking to add more shooting out there, and they're adding a bona fide superstar and or a star at least in Jimmy Butler, and they're looking to have more shooting out there. They have J.J. Redick in the starting lineup now. They've benched Markelle Fultz. I just keep thinking about if they had kept Mikal Bridges and not traded him for Zaire Smith. Zaire Smith is apparently now ruled out for most of the season due to a peanut allergy. Huh. So I don't really understand. I just don't understand that trade at all. And I think the more you look at it, you're starting 6'10", 6'7", 6'8", 7'1", or 2, and then you look at your shooting guard. It's a 6'4" white guy who can't, he couldn't guard me on a good day. So you could have had Mikal Bridges, a 6'7" long shooting guard. But the 76ers are definitely looking to win now.
Okay, so wait. Let's take back for a second. Back to Zaire Smith. Did you miss most of the season because of a peanut allergy?
That's what they're saying. He started off with the broken foot or a broken ankle, something like that. They had issues with his foot. And I think he was rebounding from that, and then it apparently had a reaction to a peanut allergy pretty severely. And he is ruled out indefinitely for the time being. Okay,
well, you don't do that every day.
No, you don't. What an idiot.
They can't be the first NBA player to have freaking peanut allergy, but don't NBA...
with all this money and the dietitians they have and the nutritionists and team doctors, you think they'd figure out how to get away around a peanut allergy, because I know a girl in 3rd grade who got around a peanut allergy at my elementary school, so...
Yeah, you think so. That's not good for the 76ers, but another for the 76ers, it's like you said, they've now benched Markelle Fultz. Markelle Fultz earlier this week saw a free throw and kind of pump fake on it, kind of fell down and shot it. It was a little ugly. He fired his trainer, and apparently they're no longer speaking terms at all. Markelle Fultz was labeled as a pretty big bust. Do you think this is just we're pushing towards that? And do you think any actual way he can become first pick caliber at this point?
Well, just going back to the free throw real quick, he had that huge hitch in his shot where he rocked it back real hard, fooled everybody in the entire gym. You don't see pump fakes on free throws too often, but you got one there. He said the following day, or a day or two later, I can't remember when it occurred now, but he said that the ball was actually slipping out of my hand, and I had to kind of catch it. And when I caught it, it made me like rock it back, and I had to get the grip on it. And I was rocking forward. I had to do what I could basically to get the shot up. That is almost believable, except for the fact that he fired his trainer Drew Hanlon, who's been working on his shot for so long now. If the ball just slipped out of your hand, then the form shouldn't be an issue. Or, I mean, your continued shooting form and overall play shouldn't be an issue. But I'm leaning to think that his form and overall play is an issue, and that's why he fired his coach. That's why I'm going to decide to make kind of a big deal out of the hitch free throw there. I don't think it was just a slip. If it was just a slip, I don't think you fire a trainer when you have the ball slip out of your hand. He's got to be benched. At this point, it's 100% mental. There's nothing wrong with him. For those of you who don't know, my dad worked in the PGA for a long time. He was a professional golfer. He played with guys who literally, over time couldn't hit a golf ball from one side of a football field to another, and you don't know what it's called or anything, but it's just mental, and you get to the point where it's hard to make that same repetitive motion over and over, and I think that's what you're having with Markelle Fultz and his jumper. I think he's kind of in his own way, and I don't have a clear answer on what to do.
Yeah, and I don't think no one else does either. But going on to another thing we know how supposed to do, Golden State. They're doing great right now. On Monday night, Draymond Green called his own number in regulation, and that resulted in him not getting up a shot. The Warriors later lost the game in overtime. In the regulation, Kevin Durant and Draymond Green got into how he separated in the huddle. I guess this spilled over into the locker room, and it resulted in Draymond Green getting suspended last night. A game that they did win, only by 7 though, against the Hawks. Reports came out that this was as bad, if not worse, than anything that has happened with this team over this dynasty they've had now. So basically, what do you think is going on here? Kevin Durant still says they have not talked basically at all since then. So, do you think this is a result of Draymond Green being tired of constant fourth option, or what?
I don't think it has anything to do with the fourth option. I don't think the situation with him at the end of the game was a big deal. He just made a wrong play and turned it over. You play 82 games of basketball at 48 minutes a night. You're bound to fuck up at some point during the season, and that was just what that was. And then also what's going to happen during professional seasons, when you have such intense competition going on, you play all those games and all those minutes, dudes get pissed off at each other. Dudes get angry at each other, and what you saw was normal. I mean, you saw that heated exchange, but what's not normal is when apparently Draymond was repeatedly calling Kevin Durant a bitch. Draymond Green was going after Kevin Durant, making free agency move, accusations. And that's not normal. When you start questioning your player's loyalty in the middle of the season, when you start calling him out personally on situations in the middle of the season or ever, really, that's not normal. That's why Draymond got suspended without pay. That's why it's Draymond's fault for all of this. Draymond Green you're entitled to fuck up when you play that much basketball, and you're entitled to yell at somebody when you're in that competitive of a moment. But what you're not entitled to do is question somebody's free agency stock, whether they're going to be loyal or leave, or any character issues like that. That's where it's out of line. So.
Yeah, this was something that I kind of thought, was going to kind of overblown, not big of a deal. But then the Warriors went ahead and blew it up and split him for one game. Remember last season, Draymond Green tried to fight Steve Kerr in the locker room, and nothing happened. Mm-hmm. He calls KD a bitch, and he can spin him for one game. Is this just the Warriors showing KD that they value him that much? And they're that fair he's going to leave this offseason? And want him to know that they love him being there and will make him happy?
I think this shows how bad it was in the locker room. How bad it was. I mean, with the situation entirely, you saw after the huddle in between the end of regulation and the beginning of overtime, KD was walking out on the court. I don't know if you saw this clip or not, but he says, "That's why I'm fucking out of here." You mouthed it, and you could read lips. He says, "That's why I'm fucking out of here." And then today, earlier this afternoon, an unnamed player from the Golden State says this is pretty much just push Kevin Durant out the front door pretty much as far as leaving Golden State in the offseason. So Draymond Green really had to have been saying some detrimental comments to his teammate or to Kevin Durant.
Yeah,
and Klay Thompson said, once we go on a little win streak, everybody's going to forget about it. And that's true. The media, the fans, we're all going to forget about it, and we'll move on. When it's game 45 and they're playing, in Miami or something like that, we're not going to be thinking about it. But Kevin Durant and his group and his agent and everybody, they're not going to forget about it. And then when it's time to change teams in the offseason, they're definitely not going to forget about it.
Yeah, so they're something definitely watch all season, different next offseason. Another thing that happened past offseason, problems in Houston. Carmelo Anthony's had a hell of a year. First, the Hawks paying well over $20 million to never wear a Hawks uniform. And now the Rockets don't wear a Rockets uniform for any price at all. It's widely believed that his time in Houston is coming to an end. He's going to be waived. Nobody's going to get traded at this point. And reportedly, some players on the team have already been told that he's going to be waived. So if he does get waived, Fletcher, what's next for Carmelo Anthony?
Honestly, at this point for Carmelo Anthony, if he gets waived by Houston, he should just retire because Chris Broussard pretty much said it about as good as you could. He had terrific years as a player in Denver, and then early and halfway through his stint in New York. Great scorer, terrific scorer, great Olympian. He's done a lot with Team USA. He had some early success with the Denver Nuggets. He's going to start tarnishing his legacy and his reputation by team hopping like this and trying to prove to people that he's still some 20-point-a-game guy. He can't shoot. He's not mobile enough. He can't defend. He's never been a defender. You got to wonder what he's like in the locker room at this point. I don't see a role for Carmelo Anthony in the NBA when somebody tells you, yeah, you get $20 million, and guess what? You don't even have to play for us. And then the team that you went to, who thought, hey, if we sign you and keep our core pieces, we can win a title, is getting ready to release you. That's all the signs. That's all the signs you need to show that you're done playing professional basketball.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he should retire. But if not, I have two landing spots for him. He'll go play with LeBron in LA and just LeBron may make him happy because they're real good friends, or go to Golden State and get a ring because that's what they need. After Draymond Green's bullshit, Clay Anthony's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Melo is better than a lot of dudes in the NBA still. The reason I think he should retire, though, is mainly because if he jumps to Golden State, if he jumps to Boston, wherever he starts bouncing around to now, it's just going to hurt him long term because you're going to see, like, he played so long for the Denver Nuggets, and then he went back home to play in New York for so long, and now he's gone from OKC, Atlanta to Houston in 6 months, and it's just not working.
I tell us that's not working right now. All the Boston Celtics.
Yep.
Kyrie Irving, back-to-back weeks, making headlines. Last week we talked about the Celtics struggle with the capacity to fix and what the issues were. Well, Kyrie had holding that there entirely. He thinks that they should bring in a veteran leader to basically help lead the team. Kyrie left Cleveland because he didn't like playing with LeBron James, and he wanted to be the man. Now that he's the man in Boston, and things aren't going so great, he's calling for somebody else to come in and kind of take over the leadership role. Fletcher, what are your thoughts on Kyrie's comments?
I think it's just that, you know. I mean, you left LeBron because you want to be the man and lead your team. Well, now you're getting your opportunity to be the man and lead your team, and you're not able to do it. And you had the ultimate guy to lead your team in LeBron James, and you left that. And then people talk about how great of a closer he was. He closed the finals out for LeBron. Well, there's no LeBron in his way now, and he's got more collective talent than that Cavaliers team had, and I don't really see him closing much of anything right now other than, the Celtics' chances of winning games throughout these little stretch or run that they've been on where they haven't been too good. So I'm not for sure what Kyrie Irving is looking at. Be the guy to lead people on and off the court. Be the emotional leader, the locker room presence that you think you are and you want to be. There's no one else to point the finger at right now besides you, and that's Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I agree with you. Better leadership. Do you think Carmelo Anthony would be the guy to go to Boston
No.
for better leadership?
Absolutely not.
No chance at all?
Danny Ainge isn't that stupid. He would never – I don't think he would do something like that. But, I mean, I just think Kyrie Irving, I mean, he's going to be turning 27 this year. And, at the end of the regular season, he'll be turning 27. Been in the NBA a long time. There is absolutely no reason why he cannot be the leader of this team. He's the best player on the team. He's 27 years old. If he's feeling, tough enough and gaudy enough to feel like he can make comments and force trades and stuff like that, there's no reason why he can't be a leader of the team. So, and I just want to go ahead and say it again. It was easy for him to sit there and think that he was closing out games, and people think that he was closing out games when he was next to LeBron, and now there's no one stopping him from being the man on the court, and he just isn't able to get it done efficiently as it relates to wins.
Yeah, and I come to the conclusion with Kyrie Irving. I almost like me to play with Kyrie Irving as of recently. He's like an NFL wide receiver. He's shooting people down, he's going to say what's on his mind. And that's not what you want as ownership or as, front office. But it's kind of what you have to expect at this point. Do you think somebody in Boston would be like, hey, Kyrie, kind of calm down, don't tell us how to do our job?
I mean, I don't think Danny Ainge is a guy who needs to say anything to anybody to make them understand that he is in control in Boston. I don't think Brad Stevens needs to say anything to anybody to make them understand that he really turns the wheels on a day-to-day basis as far as getting his team going. I don't think anybody needs to say anything there. I think what needs to happen is Kyrie Irving kind of needs to buck up. I think maybe Danny Ainge or Brad Stevens should sit down and have a talk with him, or maybe even Al Horford should sit down and have a talk with him. If Kyrie says, hey, we need to bring a veteran presence in here to lead this team, Al Horford's looking around like, I'm a 16-point game guy. I am an all-star. I'm a 12-year vet. What do you want me to do? What can you and I not do here? I mean, Al Horford, Brad Stevens, Danny Ainge, somebody's got to sit down with him and say, it's time to nut up or shut up because you came here for a reason and you're not doing it. You're the one who's not fulfilling on your part. We're the one who's put the team around you entirely. It's time for you to step it up.
Yeah, I should have thought about Al Horford and how do you react to that. So, such as all the struggles, are they still your favorite to win the East?
I'm not going to abandon their pick 13 games in. The Raptors are looking strong as ever, but I think I was a bit premature earlier in the year when I saw them take off and have a hot start and saying that there weren't going to be any chemistry issues. There's obviously chemistry issues going on right now. Like, that's the bulk of their problem. I they need to figure out more fluidity and more flow in their offense, and that's just going to come with time.
Yeah, and we're going to talk politics a whole lot all season long. But now going across the country, LeBron James is pulling some strings in LA, and the Lakers are over 500. 2 weeks ago, after Fletcher said the Lakers need another post presence on defense, the Lakers signed a recently waived Tyson Chandler. Apparently, LeBron James called in a favor with Suns executive James Jones to get Chandler's contract bought out, allowing him to join the Lakers. Fletcher, what's your thought on them signing Tyson Chandler? And should Magic Johnson be upset that LeBron's pulling strings to get players to come to the Lakers?
Well, he did call in a favor to James Jones. James Jones, we all know that James Jones is LeBron's good buddy, played in Miami and Cleveland forever. Tyson Chandler was going back and forth between two teams to sign with, Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. He wound up choosing LA. And I think for LA, it's going to be a good move. You get another veteran in there who can help mold those young guys. You get another. You basically have 48 minutes of rim protection with JaVale McGee, who's top 5 in blocks in the NBA, and Tyson Chandler now. You're going to have 48 minutes of rim protection. You have a huge safety net. You have a guy who's a good on-ball and off-ball defender in the post. I really like the move for them. I think it's going to be big time what they need because it's going to help with team defense. It's going to help with team rebounding. Two things we've seen the Lakers really, really struggle with. And, I said it's going to be 20, 30 games for the Lakers to kind of come together, and it looks like they're kind of starting to figure that out. They're figuring out how to defend and play as a team. You bring in a guy like Tyson Chandler, who's made a big difference early. So I really like the direction they're going. I don't think this bothers Magic at all. One of the reasons I said that LeBron was going to, or that superstars were going to start coming to LA now, is because you have the ultimate recruiter on the court, LeBron James, and you have the ultimate recruiter off the court, Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson knows what he's capable of and how he can deliver. But when you have a guy like LeBron James, you and Magic, or LeBron and Magic, can literally make so much happen that Magic, he didn't even need to be involved in this one. LeBron was like, I can handle this. So we do need him. I'll get him. And Magic's like, okay, perfect. This is part of the reason why I brought you in there. Magic's a 5-time champion, greatest point guard ever, Laker legend. He's not going to feel threatened. He is secure enough in himself as a person. This isn't going to bother Magic at all.
Yeah. Now, playing off that point, we now move on to Fletcher on the Fly. Fletcher on the Fly segment where I ask Fletcher 3 questions. He knows what they are, they prepare for them, and answer them all on the fly. This week's theme is most likelies. So, Fletcher, we just saw LeBron pull off the first official move as a GM of a basketball team by actually being a player.
Yeah.
So the question to you is, will LeBron win more titles as a player or as a GM/owner? So he has 3 right now. He could win however many as a player, but he has to win at least 3 as an owner or GM.
I personally think he's going to finish with probably 4 or 5. I think 4 is a bit more realistic than 5. I don't know. It's hard to envision him being a better GM or owner than he is a player. But the other thing is, he can be an owner and a GM for the rest of his life, literally until the day he dies. So, I mean, who knows how many titles he could win. I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to say he's going to win more as a player than a GM or owner.
All right. I like that answer. Next
Just because he can wield more power on the court than he can as a GM as far as getting guys there and controlling what happens in the game itself. So I'm going to roll the dice, and I'm going to say a player.
All right. And on to our next question. Going back to early in the show with the Warriors, what's more likely? Draymond Green gets traded, okay, we know he's there next season, or Kevin Durant walks away from Golden State?
I think it's definitely more likely that Kevin Durant walks away from Golden State. I'm sure that they would rather keep, if they had to choose between Draymond and Kevin Durant, they would choose Kevin Durant. Most people with a brainstem would. But if you trade Draymond, I think it kind of sends kind of a message to your locker room that maybe might make guys uneasy and unsure of what to expect with their team. They could hurt team chemistry. Whereas Kevin Durant walking away, they're like, hey, we figured it would happen at some point. Maybe this is just that time. And then on top of that, if Durant walks away, they could re-sign Boogie too. So
So you're saying
Go ahead.
so you're saying KD walking away is your answer?
Is more likely than them trading Draymond. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And now a final question. This offseason, same two players. How likely is it that the Warriors will trade Draymond Green if it guarantees Kevin Durant resigns?
If it guarantees Durant resigns?
Yes.
You know, the Warriors front office and team, they've been pretty transparent with each other. They all talked about it when they were recruiting Kevin Durant. They all met together before they signed Boogie just to see how the team felt about it. I think if it came down to it, the team would come together and trade Draymond and then wind up keeping Boogie. So if it meant Kevin Durant could stay, I think it would be likely that they would trade Draymond in the offseason.
All right. That's two. And that'll flip to on the fly. That'll be each and every week. Now going to college basketball. Don't get a whole lot of this, but when it's good, we talk about it. Duke. Basically, this recruiting class has exceeded every wild expectation and basically could not go off to a better start. Just absolutely demolished Kentucky by 30 on an opening game, and now they're just steamrolling through these small mid-major schools. How do you view this phenomenal Duke freshman class as compared to, maybe some of the great Kentucky classes in yesteryear? And is Zion Williamson better than LeBron James?
I tell you what, Duke has looked really, really amazing. Cam Reddish, R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson, they are really, really carrying that team. But the thing is, when they play together, they play so fluid. They're not overly concerned about getting theirs. They're more than welcome to let other people shine on the team. They're secure in themselves as people. They're confident in themselves as players. The question I have with the team is regarding depth. They don't have enough depth, I don't think, to really compete with the all-time teams. You look at that team with Kentucky that rolled in, that was subbing 5 guys at a time at one point. That's just really that's unheard of. And then Zion Williamson, the people, Steve Kerr dropped a LeBron comparison with Zion. You've heard other people mention it as well. Nick Wright said you can't compare Zion to LeBron, and he's like, well, LeBron, there's nobody like him. Like, everybody knew that was his answer coming. But I wouldn't compare LeBron to Zion just because it's hard to compare somebody to Shaq. It's hard to compare LeBron to anybody. It's hard to compare Shaq to anybody just because there has never been a physical presence like those guys before, and I think Zion falls into that group. Zion is 6'7", 285 pounds, has a 45-inch vertical. Being that big and being able to jump off the ground that high, being left-handed, I mean, if you were forced to compare him to one player, I guess it would be LeBron, but being 6'7", 285, I mean, that's like a right tackle in the NFL. That's an amazing tight end. He's really, like, if Draymond Green was tone and muscular and was athletic, this is what Draymond Green would look like at Zion Williams. I wouldn't compare Zion to LeBron just because there has never been a physical specimen like Zion before, and you just can't compare him. He's not better than LeBron by any means. I don't know why people say that, but comparison, I would not compare the two.
Last week you said that, or 2 weeks ago, you said that Kansas was better than Duke. Do you still feel that way?
That Kansas was better than Duke?
Yes.
Yeah, I do, because here's the thing. One player or 2 player gets in foul trouble for Duke, and we haven't seen that. We don't know if they can handle that kind of adversity. Kansas, they could withstand 1 or 2 guys getting in foul trouble and still keep things going. As a Buki guy, their big center, if he gets in foul trouble, they're going to roll David McCormick, the 6'11", 265-pound center, All-American out of Oak Hill, and his potential is literally through the ceiling. There's no telling how good that guy can be. Duke, when one of their guys gets in foul trouble, you can see the discrepancy or the fall off in between the first 5 and the second 5.
Yeah, kind of had Duke last year too. They had no bench depth at all. Couldn't go to help play zone all the time. That basically the downfall when it came tournament time.
Yeah, and that's another thing that LaGerald Vick and a lot of other guys at Kansas, the Azubuike guy, they've been there for a while. They've been through the grind. They know what it's like deep into conference play, tournament play. Where Duke, they're untested in a lot of different ways. And foul trouble, adversity, tournament play, those are just 3 of them right there.
Yep. And now we get to talk about a team that Duke destroyed opening night, Kentucky. They took pretty much destined so far, got blown up by Duke, only won by 12 against Southern Illinois. So, what do you think Kentucky's problems are, and do you think they'll be able to overcome them and make a, Sweet 16 Elite 8 run come March?
They're probably gonna. I could really see this Kentucky team struggling down the stretch in conference play, because if they only beat SIU, Southern Illinois University, by 12 points, I don't know how they're going to go on the road to Tennessee, to Florida, to LSU, to all these really tough teams, going into South Carolina and playing a Frank Martin team, playing Auburn, who's a rivalry for them now. I don't know how they're going to go on the road in the SEC and win all these games. They're going to be one of those teams, that you've heard so many times now from, Kentucky-led teams. It's like, well, if they can pull their act together and they can figure out a way to do this, that, or the other, they're going to be a really dangerous team. You saw it happen that one year of Julius Randle's class or group. I mean, and they weren't all that impressive and somehow made a stretch for the Final Four. That could happen here. They do have the talent, but progressively, year after year, since Calipari's been at Kentucky, you're just seeing players come in and just look like they don't have a clue on offense or defense. They don't know where guys are going to be. They don't know how to rotate and help with guys. And you just see Cal walking out on the court farther and farther, yelling more and more each year. I don't understand what's going on in Kentucky. Obviously, Cal's not on the hot seat because he lands all these hot recruits and has good years most of the time. But at the same time, you didn't bring Calipari there to land all these top level recruits and then fucking hang SEC championship banners or Sweet 16 banners. That's not why he's at Kentucky. So they have been lackluster, to say the least, and I think it's just going to continue that way this year. I think they're going to have a mediocre record for Kentucky and Calipari standards. I'm not for sure how they're going to do in the tournament. It could be one of those years that they make it to the Final Four with a bad record. It could be a year they're out upset in the first round or second round or Sweet 16.
They talk about the SEC schedule, and the SEC really become, not the best, but one of the 2 or 3 best basketball conferences in the country. It used to be just football and basketball. You had Kentucky, you had Florida good for a few years there. But now it seems like as a whole, it's really strong. And that's a good point. Kentucky probably will struggle with that. We'll lose some games. What do you think the seed is or could be?
I mean, it's really early. I was just thinking about that. It's way too early to predict. But if they have the season that I kind of just talked about or just described, you'd think somewhere between the 7 and 9 range is what they're looking at, especially if they get bounced early in conference play.
Any chance they miss the tournament completely? They just can't get together?
I don't see that happening.
Yeah, there's too much talent across the board there.
Yeah.
So that's college talk. We'll have more of that as the season goes along, and more things like heat up shots happening. But now, let's talk about the best team in the NBA. Tim ducking the pond a little bit. On Ducking the Pond, every week we give you the season right now. We give you the division leaders and the wild card playoffs. Well, we're not going to give you 16 teams here on the show because no one wants to hear that.
Yeah, no, we don't.
So we'll talk about the best team in each conference and NBA overall. Start with the East. This past week, the Bucks just beat the Warriors. The 76ers got Jimmy Butler. The Raptors are playing as good as they have all season. So they're still struggling. I think the best team in the East right now are the Bucks. I know they beat the Warriors with a banged up Steph and no Draymond Green, but they beat them handily at Oracle, and that kind of statement win. I don't think they'll be the number 1 at the end of the season, but right now I think the Bucks are the best team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, I'm going to talk real quick about that Bucks Warriors game. The one thing the Bucks can do that people. They added the big man with Ilyasova and Lopez, and they can shoot, and they added a new coach who's made a big difference. But one thing that the Bucks can do is they are so versatile in offense and defense. You could put Giannis at the 1 all the way up to the 5 if you wanted to, and you can mix in a bunch of different guys in between. It's really kind of exciting to see how versatile they can be on offense and defense, and they matched up really well with playing a bunch of different lineups against the Warriors. I still think. Well, no, I don't still think. The last time we talked about this, I think I still said I was with the Celtics. They are still struggling. They're still struggling. So I'm no longer going to say the Celtics are the best right now. I'm not for sure how the East is going to shake up. I got to say the best team right now is Toronto, 12-2, have an 86% win percentage. The Bucks are right behind them. I mean, they're 10-3, but 12-2 is really impressive. 12-2 is the best record in the NBA. So. I'm going to say that the Bucks are the best, or that the Raptors are the best right now. Milwaukee could beat them tomorrow, that's for sure. Philadelphia, Indiana, Boston, they can still all turn it around and have really productive seasons. I think the 76ers adding Jimmy Butler is going to make a huge difference down the stretch for the regular season. He's going to be a huge X factor in the postseason as well. But right now, the best team in the East, in my eyes, is the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah, and now going to the West. The West had a pretty bad week. The Warriors have problems. Draymond Green hates everybody. Steph's injured, out for at least 5 more games. Nuggets kind of fall off a cliff. But the Portland's pretty hot. I'm still going to go with the Warriors being the best team because they have Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And Draymond Green isn't hurt. He didn't play one game. Klay Thompson. Those 3 guys really win you a whole lot of basketball games. So for that reason, I'm going to go with the Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors are still the best team in the NBA. If you say that they, in the what game was it? It was like the 14th or 15th game of the season. Like if somebody said, "Oh, hey, this is the say it out loud test." If somebody said, "Hey, in the 14th or 15th game of the season, the Warriors lose to the Clippers," is that a big deal? No, it's not a big deal at all. What was a big deal was the Draymond Green Kevin Durant incident and how that kind of boiled over, but. That's the loss itself is not a big deal. I'm not going to write too much into that. That's not, especially with Steph Curry not playing. Golden State's still the best team. Denver's slacking off a little bit now. They're falling back to reality. They're back to 9-5. Portland is surging. The Lakers, they're slowly making moves. They're slowly getting better. They're above 500. They're really sneaking up on teams, especially with Tyson Chandler. He's made a big help. But I'm still going with Golden State as the best team out west and the best team in the NBA.
Yeah, for the best team in the NBA, I really want to say the Bucks because they have looked so good and they beat the Warriors. But like you said, in the NBA, one game didn't mean a whole lot, a whole body of work, and on the roster, the Warriors are the best team in the NBA. So we still agree on that. 3rd week in a row, we say the Warriors. Maybe that'll change at some point in time, but who knows. And the 76ers lost by 3 to the Magic tonight.
Oh, wow. Talk about spoiling Jimmy Butler's debut.
Yeah, poor Jimmy Butler. So now on to the game of the week. We're going to put together one game, NBA or college. Look forward to this week. My game is tomorrow night. It's in the college, Syracuse versus Connecticut. My team's Connecticut. Syracuse plays 16th, coming into Hartford. Dan Hurley has it looking pretty good through 2 games. It'll be a real test, and I'm really excited to watch it. Fletcher?
Yeah, my game is going to take place on Friday night. It'll be on ESPN. It's going to be the Raptors and the Celtics. It's going to be at Boston. I think this could be maybe the start of a get-right game and a good stretch for Boston. But I'm sure Toronto's going to be favored in the spread. But that'll be Friday at 6:00 East or Central Time. But my game of the week is Toronto at Boston. I'm looking forward to watching that game.
That'll be a good one too. And Nippers, this has been Volume 25 of Humpday Hysteria. As always, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Saucy Pod. Listen to Saucy on the Side every Monday, Knuckle Sandwich every Thursday, Fantasy 15, the DFS podcast every Friday, and Food for Thought on Saturday. From Layton, from Fletcher, as always, Zippers, stay saucy.